Hey everybody, welcome back to video episode. Today we're continuing the series on MARS FPGA, what it is, what it's previewing, and when it's going to be showing it. And I've been getting a lot of questions about MARS in the last week or so I figured we'd go through another preview stage, talk about what they're talking about on Twitter, and just basically detail everything that is apparently coming to MARS FPGA. Because there are a lot of previews, you guys are very curious, and that's what I'm here to do, give you the current information as far as I know it, and everyone else does too. Before we get too far involved, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined to want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But you'll see here on Twitter, they have said that they're going to bring Mortal Kombat 2 to MARS. And I totally understand that Mortal Kombat is a super popular franchise, and a lot of people are looking forward to this on an FPGA core. Obviously, we have the original Mortal Kombat over on MiSTer FPGA in its alpha format, but Paramount seems to have had some issues with the RAM on MiSTer FPGA and some capabilities there, so it is still not really a playable experience. But you'll see here they're talking about previewing this and many other things at Too Many Games in Philadelphia that happens in June. Leave me a comment down below and tell me maybe I should fly down there and check it out in person. Could be fun for the channel. You guys might get a little bit more information. And I can totally understand why people are excited about Mortal Kombat 2. If I'm being completely honest with you, I am not among one of those people. I've never been a huge Mortal Kombat fan. I'm not saying it's not a popular game or a good game. It's just never been something I've clicked with, and if you can't tell here already, I'm not playing very well. But I can understand why people want something like this over on the FPGA side of things. They are very easy to find arcade boards, but they're definitely not cheap because they are popular. There's two ways arcade boards get expensive. They're either rare or they're super popular. You can buy a lot of $100 games all day long, but when you get into games that everyone knows, loves, and remembers, they do get quite expensive, and I understand that not everyone is the type of person that's got multiple super guns and a closet full of arcade boards, so this is definitely something the MARS team have been showing off. Additionally, it seems like they are now previewing Atari Jaguar as well. Obviously another console from the 90s, not one that succeeded, but one that there are a decent amount of fans out there for. And I would say there are a couple of games on the Atari Jaguar that are definitely worth playing, Alien vs. Predator being the top game on that. So this is another console along with Dreamcast, Naomi, and 3DO, which we'll get into a little bit later in the video, that they're talking about having ready for MARS as well. And I will say, if I could play Alien vs. Predator on an FPGA core, that would be a fun time. It does exist as a beta on MiSTer FPGA, and it's not that MiSTer couldn't really handle it, it's just that no one actually finished the work, and a lot of these core developments end up being finished because somebody is in love with the hardware. Robert on the Nintendo 64 side of things started development on that just because he loves this system, so it's quite possible the people working on it on MiSTer just didn't love the Jaguar because it is a very difficult system to love. I do have one, it is a fun time, but it's definitely one of those also ran consoles, so it'll be interesting to see if this is going to be on preview either Too Many Games or a little bit before that, because it does seem like they're talking about maybe doing some live streaming of the MARS project before that happens, because pretty much everyone and their uncle out there is currently waiting for news and updates on the project on Twitter and otherwise, because the MARS team has shown this off once so far working at a trade show, and they have stated that all of the MiSTer FPGA cores will be playable day zero upon launch. So again, still the expectation is if you open up a MARS box, you plug in your MARS FPGA board, all of the MiSTer cores that currently exist should run out of the box on day one. I don't think they've really said anything about what's going to launch on the MARS project when it actually goes for their own cores. I don't know if you're going to see 3DO day one, Atari Jaguar day one, or if these are something like month 3, 6, or after a year of development. They haven't been specific about that, and I know that's what a lot of people are curious about. They've also discussed reverse engineering the Capcom ZN1 and ZN2 platforms. These are PlayStation 1 based, and obviously we already have the PlayStation 1 and the PlayStation 1 Turbo Core on the MiSTer FPGA side of things, and I'll very soon have a video of whether or not ZN1 and 2 could run on MiSTer FPGA, because it is a very close derivative of the original PlayStation 1 design. And if you haven't watched my videos, I am a very big collector of PlayStation 1 arcade boards. I have a closet absolutely filled with them, and there's a lot of fun games that are exclusive or better on the arcade side than they are on the PlayStation 1 home console side. I know Robert's not a big fan of arcade gaming, so he's never looked at getting the arcade games to run, but honestly, outside of some faster clock speeds and a Q sound chip, most of these boards are like 90% derivative of what they would be as a PlayStation 1 console. They've also mentioned potentially reverse engineering the GNet board as well, and that's probably my favorite on the PlayStation 1 arcade side of things. But there's a lot of fun games on the arcade side of PlayStation 1, and you could definitely expand the FPGA library of something like PlayStation if we had Capcom ZN1, 2, Namco System 10, 11, 12, and Taito GNet. You also have some Konami stuff as well, but no one's mentioned reverse engineering that, and that's just probably because no one except I love Konami arcade stuff. But you'll see here they're going to be talking about that at Too Many Games as well, so they're definitely predicating all of these previews on a June appearance date. So that is the expectation moving forward. And again, I get a lot of questions every week about what's going on with MARS, so I'm just telling you the information as I know it. That looks like June 28th to 30th, so yeah, maybe I will just grab a ticket, fly down for the weekend, check it out, record some video, and then see what's going on, because I know a lot of people are going to be looking forward to this. Because again, like I've stated, they have shown MARS off once before, running about 2 games down in Florida, but this wasn't the 3DO or the Dreamcast or the Naomi or the Jaguar or Mortal Kombat side of things. But of course, it does take a little bit to stand up a platform. You have to get the boards designed, you have to get all of the different tool chains in place, and then you actually have to start writing all of the HDL and Verilog code for the actual arcade cores in and of themselves. So I think people were expecting to see more of a preview by this point in time in the year, being about mid-March, but it seems like we might be seeing stuff soon, and that is what the MARS team is saying and what you should expect moving forward, because I know a lot of people are really curious about this project. There have been some people wondering if it's still going to exist, but it seems like the MARS team is doubling down on telling you when they're going to show stuff. Now, on the 3DO side of things, they've been previewing this console an absolute metric crap ton, and I totally understand. I am a huge 3DO fan. That should come to nobody's surprise. And I should say a fair disclaimer, the developer of this core Fixel I have known for many years. I consider him a friend outside of gaming stuff. Not only do we talk about 3DO and other sort of projects, we also just talk about general everyday life stuff every once in a while, so I do know him that well. I've actually sent some of my hardware down to him where he lives, my FM Towns Marty, as well as some other things for him to reverse engineer and work up some of the optical disc emulators he's working on. Now, I do think Fixel can get something like this done. I've known him for a long time. He's an extremely talented person, and of course, as much as I talk about 3DO, there's probably a couple dozen other people out there that do want a core. I've always loved this hardware. I think it can come over to MiSTer FPGA as well, and we really don't know what the open or closed source status of anything like MARS is going to be. They state that they're going to port the open source cores from MiSTer to MARS, but we don't know if they're going to allow any of that in the reverse. And of course, people are still really waiting to see Dreamcast in FPGA as well as Naomi. Now, on the Dreamcast side of things, I totally understand why people would want that. I don't know that it's a complete hugely necessary, but on the Naomi side of things, if I didn't have to take my NetBoot system out every time I wanted to play a Naomi game and wire up all of those different cables and power supplies, I would be a very happy arcade fan because of it. But again, this is a more complicated generation of hardware than something like PlayStation 1, Sega Saturn, Nintendo 64, so it's definitely the type of thing that would take longer. But again, they're just showing you everything they want to bring over, and the big thing they seem to be hyping right now is 3DO and Mortal Kombat 2. But tell me down below your opinion on Mortal Kombat and whether or not you really are interested in an Atari Jaguar core. Because I will say, at least on the MiSTer FPGA side of things, no one's really clamoring for that thing to be finished. And I'm actually the type of person that does enjoy Jaguar now and again. And I am very curious about the Capcom ZN1 and ZN2 reverse engineering. I'm curious to see how that goes moving forward. For everyone that has asked, yes, I am blocked by MARS FPGA. At this point in time, they blocked a metric crap ton of people, but I'm going to make this statement right now. I review products, not people. I really don't care. It's still easy to access the information. If the project succeeds, I will tell you as such. If the project fails, I'll tell you that as well. I'm just here to talk about games, so honestly, it's really easy for me to access the information any other way. But that's the current situation on the preview with MARS. Again, maybe I'll fly down to Philadelphia in June and take a look at it. Let me know what you think down below, and let me know if you have any other questions that I can possibly answer. But it seems like the MARS team is definitely going even harder on previewing things over on their Twitter with different old school commercials, but now time will tell is when those previews actually go live on real working hardware, because I think that's what everyone's waiting to see. The MARS FPGA board running code and showing you these previews are possible. Sure, that we'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.